Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome on my new video. It's Friday, which means YouTube time, and today I'm going to answer one of my most frequently asked questions in YouTube comments or just in sessions with clients or whoever, is talking to me about their DPDR struggles, which is in fact the question, when do you know you're actually recovered? Which is, on the one hand, a simple question to answer, but on the other hand, a difficult question to answer. The reason for this being that part of your DPDR comes from a sort of hypervigilance or hyper-awareness of life around you or of yourself. And so every time you will want to check in and see, am I recovered? That might actually trigger it because you will get back into this hypervigilance of checking in if things feel normal, therefore kind of re-triggering your DPDR. So the simplest answer I can give you to answering the question, how do you know that you're recovered, is when you do not think about your DPDR anymore. When you are living your life, when you are happy, when you are at peace, and when basically you've kind of forgotten about it, that's when you know you're truly recovered. And so I think the best way I can kind of give more information on this topic is by explaining my own situation and my own recovery. Because as I started to feel better, one thing I could see was that I kind of hit a plateau of like 80% recovery after a while, and then I kind of stuck there for a few months, maybe even a year. But I wasn't really bothered by it because I was so happy that I got to this 80% of feeling like I could just live my life again. And sometimes I felt weird. Sometimes I could look around at people and feel like they weren't really real, or like I wasn't really real, or I'd start having some existential questions again. But because I felt like I had so much control over my anxiety, over my DPDR, because of all the tools that I'd learned to apply for it, I kind of was content with that 80%. Another thing was, and I don't know how many people actually know this about me, but I never knew what DPDR was until I think like a year after I'd already recovered because I was like doing some research for a YouTube video, and there I saw the term DPDR, Depersonalization and Derealization. And then when I started reading about that, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I went through. But I never really realized that because the moment I was going through it, I had like one time watched this video about a girl saying that she'd had it for such a long time, that she still was in it. And I was like, I'm not going to be that person. I am never going to research this again. I'm going to fix this on my own. And so that's when I completely dove into like mindfulness and meditation, reading books about anxiety, about Buddhism, about your nervous system, all of that, found my kind of bundle of tools that really applied and worked for me. And I just kind of started practicing that and never really went back online to like see what it was exactly. I just kind of knew intuitively that the more at peace with life that I would become, the more safe I would feel within myself, the more my symptoms would go away. Because in my mind, it was very clearly linked to anxiety as well. And so once I got to that 80%, which basically meant I didn't have panic attacks anymore, and I wasn't afraid of my symptoms anymore, then I kind of just let that 20% be there for a while. And sometimes I was like, is this normal? Is this not normal? Should I like feel exactly the way I felt before, like before this whole thing started? Am I fooling myself that maybe I am totally not recovered, but I'm just pretending that I am? And it was this kind of weird middle phase where I was sometimes just not noticing it at all and just living my life. And then there would be a moment of anxiety, or I would just kind of have too much time to think, or I'd be alone at night by myself. That was one of my big triggers. And then all these questions started coming back. I'd start feeling weird again. And it was not to the point where I was panicking, because I really, really knew that my anxiety was not something to be scared of anymore. And I really, really knew that my symptoms, what they were, where they came from, kind of understanding myself a little bit better. So I didn't really worry about it too much. And I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to meditate a little bit. I'm just going to do the things that I know are going to make me feel a bit more safe and just not think about it too much. That was really an important thing for me. And so what I started noticing was, as time went on, let's say, because I have to think about like how long that kind of in-between phase actually was, but I would say like from the 80% recovered, which was the point where I was like, okay, I know how to stop my panic attacks. I know how to deal with these existential questions. I know how to overcome my fear of death. I know how to sit with uncomfortable feelings. And so I felt confident in myself, but there was this 20% of weird fogginess that was still present. And so from that point to the 100%, which is basically where I am now, I would say it took me roughly, like I said, 6 months, maybe a year. The fact that I don't know says enough about how little I cared, which is basically the best advice I can give you, because if you feel like you are at that point where you are 80% recovered and okay, my boyfriend just came in. If you are at the point where you are 80% recovered, do not obsess about this 20%. The more you obsess about getting rid of it, the longer it will take you to get rid of it. The more you kind of just, I always tell people, like, when you're 80% there, just pretend that you're 100% there, because if you pretend that you're 100% there, you will not latch on to the remaining little symptoms or kind of bits and bobs here and there so much. And that acceptance is actually what's going to make that go away again. Because to be 100% recovered is literally the same thing as living your life again without questioning anything about it, without feeling unsafe in life, without feeling unsafe in yourself. Being 100% recovered is just kind of not being in the unknown, but like just being completely unbothered by anything. When you're just like, I'm just living my life. I'm only thinking about the things I have to do today. I'm only thinking about, the job in front of me, of maybe going to work or going to school or whatever that might be, that you're just not thinking about the DPDR anymore. And if you're in that state, then the normalizing of life and of yourself is kind of what will make that 100% normality return. Once you get rid of the fear element, once you get rid of the anxiety element, once you get rid of the panic attacks, of the resistance against these existential questions that might come from it, then the last 20% that's left is probably just your hypervigilance and your hyper-awareness of life, because you've been in this state for so long. And it's kind of like when you've, I don't know how to explain this, but kind of like when, I don't know if I've given this example before, but kind of like when you see, for example, there's a coffee mug right here, which is a bit dirty, I'm sorry. If I'm drinking from this mug my entire life, it's just a normal mug. And the moment that I start really, really questioning it and really looking at it and questioning the word mug and where it comes from and looking at all the elements, at some point it's going to start feeling weird, like it's lost its meaning. Say that I do that for years and years at a time, or for months and months at a time, it's going to take a while of me really just letting go of this mug and trying to figure it out until I can just kind of look at it and it just feels normal again. And that period is difficult if your focus still is recovering and getting rid of it and like overcoming it. So as you start to progress towards the end of your journey, you start to feel more and more at peace. You might still have some symptoms here and there, but it's not to the point where it's still disturbing you. Try to find new priorities in your life that you can focus on. Try to find a new hobby. Try to meet with your friends. Try to volunteer and put yourself to use in the environment of your community, and feel like you have other goals in life other than just your recovery journey, because that will make your mind kind of normalize life again, just throw you back into life, and take your mind off of this recovery journey for so much. So yes, I think I said everything about this question. Let me see what the original question was. When do you know that you're recovered? Yeah, what I said in the beginning, when you do not think about DPDR anymore. Obviously, I think about it because that's my full-time job. I work with people all day, every day, on most days a week. So I'm still thinking about it, but I don't have it anymore. And it's because when I'm talking about it, thinking about it, I see the DPDR as a thing that I'm working with and not something that I'm still checking in with myself. I never check in to see if I have DPDR or not anymore. And so that's kind of why I know I'm recovered, is because I literally don't care. If I got DPDR tomorrow, you know, I think I would 99% be able to say that I'd be fine with it today, honestly, because I'm so unafraid of it. I'm so unbothered by it. That's why I never check in on me anymore. That's why I'm never scared of any sort of feelings that I have anymore. And that's also why I never have it anymore. So I hope this video helped you. I was gonna do a recovery story today, but unfortunately the person had to cancel last minute. So that will hopefully come next week. I know how much you guys are just loving the recovery stories and how much they help you feel motivated and hopeful towards your own recovery. So hopefully I'll have one by next week again. And until then, enjoy your weekend as much as you can. Meditate, do everything you can to find that inner peace and inner safety again. It's somewhere within you. I know that you have it within you. You just have to find the right ways to access it. And it's also allowed to take some time. Don't put any pressure on yourself of like how quickly you have to get through this, because yeah, that will only slow the process down for yourself. So thank you guys for watching today. Hope you have a lovely, lovely weekend. Hope you can find some excitement on the street of looking at Christmas lights and just trying to, as much as you can, get into the Christmas spirit. And I will see you guys next week.